Welcome to the Ouchcast, where you have the three knuckleheads minus George. We miss you, buddy. Hope we'll have you back soon.
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
But here we are. Yeah. You know, I was just thinking about Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and I know that there's always
You got your Buffy Vampire Slayer.
Well, have you watched that show? Did you like it?
I have the whole series.
Okay.
I have both that one and Angel and the movie.
It does not hold up. The movie does, but the show is 90s bad.
And then Josh Whedon fucking stink on it.
Yeah.
No,
it's
but
bad.
here, you know what's cool about that? It's actually a remake of the movie that had God, what was her name? Slater? No. Was it Slater?
Kristen Swanson?
Slater?
Swanson?
Whatever. And Luke Perry.
Yeah.
And David Arquette.
And
What's up with
Pee-wee
that Pike? And Pee-wee fucking
Herman.
And Rutger Hauer. Rutger Hauer, which is a weird little quiz to that. Oh, and also there's a cameo by Ben Affleck before he was Ben Affleck.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's a basketball player.
Oh,
at
yeah.
the game.
Yeah.
And he's like, whatever, dude. Or so they even dub his voice because it was so Boston-y that they were like, yeah, we got to dub that over that. But
Bastin.
yeah, there's a fun little thing about Rutger Hauer in that movie.
Christy Swanson, guys.
Christy Swanson.
Donald Sutherland as Merrick,
the Watcher.
Yeah, the Watcher.
I love that movie, by the way.
I do too.
Going
Hillary
back and-
Swank, dude, was in that, man.
Yeah, I remember. No comment. But that movie, like I said, Rutger Hauer was in it as I forget the name of the vampire himself. But the funny part is that was kind of like a tongue-in-cheek homage to Interview with a Vampire, because when Anne Rice wrote Interview with a Vampire, she basically described and she envisioned Rutger Hauer as Lestat. So then afterwards, when they did the movie, they kind of made him look like what Lestat would look like as a middle-aged man. So that was pretty fun fact behind the scenes.
That movie was great. And you know that the thing, like whenever people talk about remakes and if they work or don't, I do think about Buffy the Vampire Slayer. The movie was fun, but it was ridiculous. I love that they brought back, the guy who created the movie and then said, hey, do it again. And then he did, but instead he changed it. I mean, it was almost like a sequel to the movie, like an unofficial sequel, right? I mean, at the time people...
It was an unofficial sequel. Like the events of the first one kind of are hinted at, how she comes into Sunnyvale and she's like, oh, we don't talk about my old school and stuff like that. But they never mentioned Pike. They never mentioned any of that stuff. And then, Giles comes on board and stuff like that.
It's the term that's used now, where before, it was sequels and then there were
Soft
reboots and now...
Soft reboot.
And that's what that was. Like, that was, what's his name? Josh Whedon saying, you know what? I'm going to, kind of skip what we did in that first movie, but still talk about it because I have an idea. And he ran with it and it was a great show. Now, Doyle, you said that it doesn't hold up. I honestly think it's shtick, and it's a time capsule of the 90s that makes it fun to watch. I like that. However, I agree with you that in the first season, I think it's very different. You have to really kind of...
It's like Hercules, the legendary adventures. Like when you watch it, it's like, it's not so much the dialogue or the premise that's bad. It's like the CGI and some of the lines are just like, ooh.
No, scratch that. It's the vibe. It's that 90s vibe, that stank of the 90s and 2000s, early
Dawson's
2000s.
Creek with vampires. Fun fact.
What's up?
I was
In Dawson's Creek.
in junior high.
President of Dawson's Creek.
And I had a thing for Buffy.
We all had
Who didn't have a thing for Buffy?
Yeah. Sarah Michelle Gellar really wore those pants.
Everyone really had a thing for her.
Alicia Dushku on that, man. I want to douche.
As Faith, I felt madly in love with her for that role. I was like, dude, she's fucking badass.
You were singing George Michael?
Yeah, because I gotta have faith.
You know what though? I have to admit that Allison, is it Hannigan?
Yeah, Hannigan. She's adorable.
Dude, I loved her in that.
I loved her in Bandcamp.
She won me over in Buffy, and then I became a fan in American Pie.
And then in How I Met Your Mother.
Oh, and How I Met Your Mother.
She was fucking amazing, dude. She was amazing in that show.
A resurgence of her career. I want to see her as in a bigger role, maybe as co-star as opposed to supporting cast.
She did do a movie, one of those spoof movies. Was it Date Movie?
Yeah.
Was that what it was?
Either that one or wasn't it movie 44 or something like that?
No, but that movie 43.
43.
But that one she was in it, yeah, but she wasn't the star. There was no star in that movie. That movie was a weird experiment, which I could not finish. I could not finish it. But
I love that movie. It's a ridiculous.
It's a
I think
remake.
they should. When you guys said 43, I don't know why I was thinking like a spoof movie of like Jackie Robinson.
So on this segment of Angels Rate That System, where he's either falling asleep to movies, I want to know, where do you rate Allison Hannigan in on the level of desirability according to Angel?
Strictly Dickly.
Yes. Okay. I got another one. For you. Michelle Trachtenberg.
Adorable, but no. No.
Wait, what was that you said off air though?
What?
What?
I wouldn't stick my dick in her.
Like, she's really cute, and I'm not attracted. I mean, I'm attracted to her, but I wouldn't put my penis in her.
No, yeah, great way to censor. That's not what I said, but okay.
Hey,
but I mean, like, no. What I meant is, there's some people that you think are, attractive, but it doesn't mean you want them sexually.
Right.
And she's one of those people that for me was always like, I'd see her in movies like, oh, there's that cute little girl or whatever, but I never found no attraction to her sexual.
Yeah.
It was just like, she's cute. I can see it, and then guys would be like, oh, she's hot. I could never do it. So I don't know what it was. I don't know if it's because she looks so young and I don't like them young, or I don't know.
So on the scale of Polaroid, glazed or unglazed, an Angel, to use your word.
Oh, unglazed, definitely.
That was
not a donut. She is a hole.
Well, he's not gonna hoe nut on her. Sorry, that was bad.
She's not gonna be a Cinnabon.
I will go and flog myself. All right, so that was brought to you by Angel's Corner. This rating. So
I'll shut up now.
Speaking of things that I wouldn't put my penis in or around, that first season of Halo, the series, like, I've been wanting to talk about it with you guys because, like, I loved Halo, the video
Hold
game
on,
series.
let me turn off my earphones.
Oh, there you go.
Okay,
He's falling
so
asleep.
You're gonna have to educate me a lot, and
me.
for anybody out there, because I only played Halo 2 for like the online stuff and like had a little bit of fun with it, but never really picked up into the series. And it's a fun game. I can't like knock the game, but I think like the lore kind of misses me. It doesn't totally make sense, but there's concepts that I have in my mind. So like when the series came out, the series looks like a galactic war of some kind of like a Star Wars, but with like Master Chief. And I was thinking like that actually would be a dope series to have, like, kind of like Band of Brothers or Saving Private Ryan kind of like graphics, but it's like a space war where you like really go through the trenches with like a group of like war. Is it like that, or is it something different?
Yeah. So, let me give you guys a quick little rundown of what the series is about. So the series takes place about 500 years into the future, and sure enough, humanity has already expanded out into the galaxies, and along with that brought all its problems, right? Colonization, tyranny, fascism, and all that. And so, sure enough, civil wars start happening. So, in the midst of all of that, a program is started, like in a covert part of the government, by a scientist named Catherine Halsey, in which she kidnaps something like 60 some odd kids, as little, and replaces them with what they call flash clones that are meant to die after like a few years of like some ailment that looks of natural causes. And all the meanwhile, they take these kids and indoctrinate them into military training, ultimately putting them through augmentation therapies, which only half survive,
aka steroids.
Yeah, steroids and all kinds of weird stuff, because they essentially become super soldiers. Now,
Weapon X.
And all of that was done
Strictly Dickly.
The part that's kind of odd about all that is that it's almost like she's prescient that something bigger is about to happen, because, mind you, she does this all in the context of like this large civil war that's happening amongst the humans, right? And and humanity is just constantly fighting. So then what ends up happening is they run into aliens that call themselves the Covenant, and this Covenant,
go back to your country. Oh wait, sorry.
This Covenant decides that humanity is a score on the galaxy, and they start wiping out all the different planets. And so then there you have the super soldiers who have are the last line of defense. That's the bare bones of the story.
Are those Scorn? Are those lizard-looking things?
They're called a Covenant because it's a bunch of different races.
It's the little triangle things, the lizard things, and the big brute things, right?
Yeah, there's like the lizard-looking guys who look almost like pterodactyls, like they got the long beaks, and then you have the smaller little guys that look like little monkeys, and then you have the larger, the what they call
gorillas.
the elites, the Sanghelis, who have like those four mandibles on their, that open up like kind of like like very alien-esque.
Yeah,
like,
my kids are big into Halo.
and then of course
Not me.
you do have this larger group called the Brutes that look a lot more like big gorillas, and they're very strong. Anyways, all of this is that. So what happens is in the line of all of this, as they're fighting the Covenant, there's a thing called a halo that they come across, and both the humans and the Covenant are fighting for control of it. Now the Covenant believes that the halo is going to set them on a journey, while the humans believe that it's a weapon, and it turns out to be kind of something a little bit in between both.
That's funny.
So it's a great kind of science fiction-y story.
Like I said, I'm with Doyle. I'm not Halo like at all. My wife, my sister actually,
right.
She bought me Halo 3 for the Xbox, right? She was like a surprise gift to get me out of my funk. And I was like, oh, that's sweet of her. And I played it, and I did not like it at all. I did not like the aesthetic. The story was okay, but it's just something about the design of it was just gross to me. It kind of felt like the Michael Bay Transformers design. Like it was just a little too much of detail where it's just all blurred and blotchy and crappy for me. So after playing it for like I think a day or less than a day, I actually took it back to Best Buy and took the receipt and told them I want my money back. And they said, oh, since it's open, we can only give you trade. Of
course.
So I went in and I'm like, okay, I'll find something. And this is what I give Halo credit for. I went in and there was a new game that just released the prior night on a Friday. It was and I was there Saturday, and it was Mass Effect.
Oh, nice!
So I picked up Mass Effect, and oh my god, that series, that's a series that I would like to have a TV series about.
Yeah, that would be a great TV series.
Yeah, without getting too much into that, because that would make an amazing series. Honestly, I feel like if in the right hands, Mass Effect could be like the next Star Wars.
Yeah,
it has such a rich storyline.
But it's funny right now that you're telling me the Halo.
There's connections.
There's a lot of connections. The Mass Effect, the Citadel, and all that stuff.
100%.
And I was like, oh, that's actually pretty cool.
So
that's the only game you can riz up an alien.
Hey, you know what? Actually, I want to talk about the word "riz" again just for a moment, but I'll get into that if you guys can remind me, because we had some feedback from Lewis and his wife about the word "riz." The short of it was, oh, you guys sounded like old men trying to tell people what the word "riz" and you guys got it wrong. And I'm like, did we? I thought we knew. I thought we got it right.
We are old men trying to tell people what
Lewis
Riz
is an old man trying to act young, and he's like, "Oh, you guys got it wrong." When in reality, he doesn't know it. Fuck you, Lewis.
Fuck you, Lewis.
God damn it!
But Nicole, you're cool, man.
Shout
you know
out
I love you.
Nicole,
You're cool in my book, man.
Nicole, riz up Lewis.
Hey, I was out with them last night. She was totally rizzing them up. Sorry, Nicole.
She has bad.
She got all that. Well, she said that. Truthfully, the word "riz" means charisma. Right, but I know that we were sort of talking about it from the more physical aspect.
Charisma, that's where it comes from. Charisma.
Yeah, it and that's actually kind of what it means in terms of like the energy you're putting out. But we were also saying that
God, these fucking
in the current culture, people are using it to
back in my days,
physical kind of.
Yeah, it's like shooting your shot. Like when you take a chance and you like. Put the moves on someone. You could do it over the internet. So, I mean, it doesn't actually have to be physical, but it's more like...
So, after you riz, you're all out of jail, right?
Okay.
Not necessarily.
Agility. Come on.
Not necessarily.
No?
Any other points about riz, guys?
Please.
Let's see. When you break up with your girlfriend and you shoot your shot with another girl, it's called coming off the rizzy.
I did not know that. Coming up
rizzy. It's like a rebound. That's what it means, but it's like you're abbreviating rebound and you're calling it a rizzy.
Yeah. All right. Well, now the old man taught you something.
I call it disposable relationships. That's what I call it.
Oh, Angel, you are one dirty dog.
But back to the remake talk.
No, okay. So Halo and Mass Effect, the commonality between the two. I mean, you did hit the nail on the head. In Halo, you have the artifact of the Halo itself, which is this large kind of ringed world, and in Mass Effect, you had a relay and a citadel, which were all created by some unknown like predecessor of sentient races. Yeah. Now in Halo, you have them. They're called the oh gosh, what is the name? And if the show continues, and I really do, because the first season, while it was incredibly flawed and there's a lot of things that I hated about it, I love the way the armor looked. I love the way, like, I like the sequences. There was a lot of good things about it, but unfortunately, there was a lot of bad faith stuff happening. I hate that, like, he kept on taking off his helmet and people were trying to in the show trying to play down, like, well, it's not that important. You can't emote as an actor through a helmet. That's the reason why. Dude, I'm sorry, but the Mandalorian showed us that you can totally sympathize with a character who you don't see the face of.
Right.
If good writing, and
that's the reason why we get invested in the games. If the character never took his helmet off in the game, but you can understand the emotion of what they're going through, even just the gesture of a hand reaching out when like a ship is exploding, that guy feels pain. Right.
Well, in the Halo, man, part of it was the voice actor in the game. He said these amazing lines that just worked. That's hilarious. Angel just showed us a picture of Carrie Fisher morphed into Tim Curry. So it's what is it?
Curry Fisher.
Curry Fisher.
They're just disturbed by childhood.
Oh, Mr. Frankfurter. He was national treasure. All right, so
I would.
Oh God, you need to keep that gay play out of this, my guy.
I got your key.
Yeah, I know you do.
Friendship over.
Friendship over. Friendship over.
And now it's back on. So
so Halo is amazing show now. That's actually no. Let me take that back. You see the shit you make me say when I'm trying to get a word in over your shenanigans.
Shut up and eat your popcorn salad.
Oh man, I want some popcorn.
No, Halo. I didn't watch it. My son did the first season. He said he hated it. Like I told you earlier, I myself I have not. The one thing that I have started watching is Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix.
Great show.
I started watching it last night. I'm barely on episode 1. I didn't finish it all because I only watched for like 20 minutes, and then I had to stop because I had to go back to work. And I was playing Hogwarts Legacy first, so that's what made me wait and not finish the thing.
Okay, question, because I don't have a lot of time for TV shows. I tried to. I've been trying to watch that Masters of the Universe because you guys told me about it.
Yeah, that's great.
And like, I got through the first episode and I was like, okay, I clearly missed like a whole season worth of stuff because.
Oh, so you just started with Revolution? Oh, okay.
So I saw the first part, but I missed the second part, and then I watched the first episode of the third part, and I was like, what did I miss? And it's because it's really hard for me to be able to finish a series like I used to.
Yeah.
Maybe when my schedule clears up a little bit, I'll like catch up on pop culture and stuff, but like I am so far removed from pop culture. It just like you mentioned what were we just talking about?
Sorry. I totally distracted.
See now,
I can feel it in my plums. I'm sorry.
Okay, so we were talking about Halo, and I was thinking for a second, like, is Halo a mixture between what's that show with? I mean, what's that game with Agent 47? Hitman.
Agent 47.
It's Hitman meets Mass Effect.
No, I would say because the game itself was a first person shooter, right? And so I would say that at the time it would probably be more closer akin to Doom. But at the time, because the game came out like in '99, I think, about '99, and it actually was borrowing a lot of story kind of like points from a game that became popular called Half-Life. The game Half-Life was a huge like undertaking in the PC community that
I remember
changed how storytelling was done in a first person. It was a narrative. There was a science fiction story to it. It was a great landmark in gaming, and Halo was the second one in that regard. So, but I would actually tell you, Doyle, that if I was trying to tell you to compare it, it's Starship Troopers. Right?
Okay, so that I did get a little bit of Starship Troopers. I just like, okay, so the little bit that I know about Halo is that Master Chief never takes off his helmet.
In the game, he does, but you don't see it. You never see it. Yeah. The idea is, I mean, obviously, the games will always be presented as your character's an avatar of you, so you can project your image onto him, and so you empathize with your character more. So if you never see his face, essentially you're John 117,
and he's a genetic modified soldier that's like at the forefront of this war, basically.
He is, but the thing is that the part that I left out is that he has a relationship with an AI that was created specifically for
Cortana.
and she
I know stuff.
Their relationship was very integral to the emotional like core of the storytelling in the games. Now, the problem that people had in the first season was that the relationship between Cortana and John the Spartan in the series.
John Spartan, that's Demolition Man.
It is. Well, that's his name. He's like, I mean, he's a Spartan. His name is John 117, the Spartan.
I'll shut up now.
Yeah, you should, because I didn't make that up. Like he's a Spartan and his name is John 117.
Somebody's gonna get sued.
So, anyways, the relationship between Cortana and John is in the video games is an important one because there's one of respect, and whenever something happens to her and something does happen to her, you are invested in that story. In the series, on the other hand, they have a very contentious one that doesn't feel very genuine. Now, the argument can be made is that they're trying to make you earn that same relationship down the line. That's going to pay off. I just haven't seen it quite yet. So, first season aside, the new season is out now. And the new season, I think they've learned from their mistakes, at least somewhat. The only one that they haven't fully, really internalized was that the Spartans, at least who they are in the uniform, is a very important piece. Because on a very iconic storyline, episode 4 that just came out, it's called The Fall of Reach. At least that's what it's called. The lore is called. And this planet is supposed to be a central planet where all of our technology and military might has been focused onto, and the Covenant is about to glass the planet. So it's essentially falling. In the series, that's all happening, but the Spartans are not in their uniform. They're basically fighting in their t-shirts and jeans. And while I get it, there's the stakes are high, and in the story there is some in-story reason why that happens. It doesn't. It still just feels like a kind of middle finger to the fans. The reason why they don't have the uniforms is because John was kicked off like the team because they're accusing him of being delusional. So when the military starts to leave, long story short, they take the armors with them, and so now he's left on the planet with the rest of the military who did stay behind fighting out of uniforms. Really weird, but maybe it's a cost-saving thing. I don't know.
You know what? I'm okay with cost-saving measures, but you really, 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 really need to step it up in the storytelling department if you're gonna go that route. Like, I mean, there's ways to like not show a person's face. You could make them like in a bad explosion and then wrap their face in like rapping or something like that. And if the audience knows who this character is supposed to represent, until you get a bigger budget for your production, you can like leave him in uniform with a rap face and just never show his face, because if that's a big component to what you're doing that comes from the video game lore, you're going to lose a lot of fans if you start showing off things that you're not supposed to. Just like Dredd.
Yeah,
Dredd is a perfect example. Like when that actor, I can't remember his name, but when
Carl Urban.
Yeah, Carl Urban.
Yeah, Carl Urban. Shout out to him because he really made that movie what it was supposed to be. I loved Sylvester Stallone's Dredd.
I do too, for the campiness.
Yeah, for all the wrong
Rob
reasons.
Schneider.
Then when I found out that Dredd never takes off his helmet, I was kind of like, I went back and watched it and kind of became like disengaged a little bit, because I was like,
there's two reasons. There's two reasons. First of all, Stallone and like most actors, big actors, have an ego. So they were like, I'm not gonna be in the whole movie without not showing my face. And also the producers were the same. It's like, dude, you're one of the hottest action stars in Hollywood, the biggest star. We're gonna put you in the helmet the whole time? No, fuck that. So they took the helmet out.
Yeah.
So that's what happened. Carl Urban on the other hand took the role because he loved Doom, and he's like, my condition is no matter what, his helmet doesn't fucking come off. If he does, I walk. And he put it in his contract.
That's awesome.
I see both sides to it. I get the whole don't take your helmet off. You gotta,
ladies and gentlemen, you heard it here first. Doyle is by. Go ahead.
The problem is that with Carl Urban, he's staying true to the source. So like he's really like honoring the fans and the people who supported it to get it this far. And his version of the movie is by far superior. Just like everything put
it's
together.
still on my to-do list. I own that. Wow. I own it in 3D. I own a digital copy. Wow. I've never seen that movie.
Okay, that should be like at the top of your list.
I have so much stuff.
It is I know.
I'm sorry, but I'm stuck right now on Hogwarts Legacy, and that's all I'm doing.
I'm going to tell you this. it's better than Hogwarts Legacy.
Well, you know,
that's a bold statement. Come
It is.
let's see how it plays out.
are you excited though for the potential? I guess it would be considered a reboot or remake of the Harry Potter series.
It's a reboot. Yeah,
Yeah.
They're redoing it for Max.
Yeah. How you
I'm
feel about
excited.
that?
I'm excited for it just because like, hey, new content. But at the same time, I think that it's beating a dead horse. I think what they should do is move forward with the lore and just add more to it, like another generation. Like for instance, you have the Potter series, right? Then you have the Fantastic Beasts, which didn't do that great in the box office, but it's a prequel to it that takes place in the 1940s, which is great.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I enjoy it more than the Potter series, to be honest, because it's a little more adult based.
Yeah.
Then you have Hogwarts Legacy, which takes place a century before Harry Potter. And if you remember, Harry Potter takes place in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So we haven't seen anything that happens now in that world.
Yeah.
That's what I would like to see.
Yeah,
or take it to the cyberpunk level, like the future of that world. That'd be kind of interesting to watch for myself.
What's the what's the sequel to the Harry Potter series? The one that you
Fantastic
wrote?
Beasts?
No. It was the it was a play.
The Child Curse?
Yeah.
The Cursed Child?
So that takes place in slightly more modern times.
that takes place, a little more modern.
Yeah, I think it takes place in the 2000s.
Early 2000s, yeah.
So okay, so going back to Dredd and Judge Dredd, like so Sylvester Stallone playing Judge Dredd in the original movie, like I remember people saying that it was so bad that it's good kind of thing. I don't. It's a hard movie to watch. I think I don't enjoy it because I love the Judge Dredd lore. I really do. I think
Okay.
there's a lot of good stuff in there, but it's also campy.
You're the one who taught me Judge Dredd. You brought me, you had a comic back in the 90s, and you brought me, and you're the one who also showed me Judge Death and stuff like that.
The Judge Death is dope.
Yeah. I remember you bringing me all this and teaching me stuff, and I was like, okay, cool. But I did watch the movie, and I'm one of the guilty ones that enjoyed it because I enjoy campy 90s flicks, action flicks. I do. I think they're really fun. But I don't know. I do see why people would hate that movie when they're purists like you.
So okay, so the problem with for me with Sylvester Stallone is he was such a big star that it was basically Sylvester Stallone as Judge Dredd and not Judge Dredd. I didn't see any of Judge Dredd because the thing about Judge Dredd is that he's this kind of tortured lawman. I love that they hint at that in the remake.
The law. Sorry.
I love that in the new version. When Anderson, the psychic, when she's reading his mind in the beginning, she talks about how he's angry, and then there's something, and all of a sudden she gets shooken by something that she saw in his mind. The thing that she saw that they've only revealed in the past maybe 10 years in the comics is that that
video of the guy, the pineapple.
It was 2 girls, 1 cup.
No, it's none of that.
None of that. Oh.
No. The character is a very conflicted individual. He is actually, he has the mind of a serial killer, is what it is, and he's fighting that because he believes in the law, but all the meanwhile he's sort of meant to be like a kind of mirror to society, in which society is very contradictory. Like we want justice, but hey, let's go castrate people who do bad things. Which I mean, we can make an argument for that. Like for example, pedophiles. But
Dredd for president.
I mean, but
I'd vote for him.
At what cost does us becoming that society? What cost does it happen to us? You sort of see it now. People with like less morals in it. Anyways, off the high horse. Dredd versus Judge Dredd. I love Dredd. Love Dredd. It was one of those successful remakes that I'm hoping for a sequel.
As a filmmaker, there is some beautiful cinematics that work so well into the storytelling. That's the reason why I'm telling you, like, it's worth watching. It was one of those movies that I wasn't expecting anything out of. I kind of like, let me watch this.
He's not talking about Dredd. He's talking about 2 girls, 1 cup. That's what he's talking about right now.
Yeah, the angle and like
no.
Yeah.
No.
You don't want to relive that trauma?
We all have trauma from that one, don't
I'm
we?
going to go back and get a cup of chocolate pudding after this.
Okay, Bill Cosby. So moving on our like remakes. who here watched Boy Meets World? I imagine none of you guys watched.
I
did.
didn't.
I did. I love that show.
TGI Friday, right?
I watched. I don't know when I finished.
I'll let you guys
the series,
discuss.
But I like watched the whole series from like the beginning.
I'm over here just eating.
Angel's like ongoing mission to disrupt every conversation we ever have that doesn't involve him. Hey, he's
talk
like,
about
look
me.
Look at me. I'm Mr. Meeseeks.
I'm over here.
Look at me. I'm over here. Wowie.
No, Boy Meets World was like it was weird because obviously it was for my generation. Like I grew up with the show, so as I was growing, so were the characters. And I think probably like the last 3 or 4 seasons was when I started like going out and doing stuff and like living my life. And so I missed it, but I ended up going back a couple years ago and like finishing the series and seeing what happened. And the show actually has some brilliant writing in it. Just wow, that was really good. That's really funny. That really holds up. And so I didn't watch Girl Meets World, but I definitely am interested.
So Boy Meets World is like one of the funny things that I liked about Boy Meets World was, remember his brother Eric?
Yeah.
I remember he was like this kind of heartthrob guy in the first few seasons, and then somewhere along the way he became insane and dumb.
Yeah.
And I love how like there's all these theories as to why that happened. And
this is great.
Yeah, so it says here, and there's an article from Screen Rant that sort of kind of breaks it down a little bit, but it basically says that that during season 4, Eric's loss of intelligence oddly coincides with the character receiving serious head trauma. Okay, so it is only after this event that Eric starts to become the wackiest member of Boy Meets World. Because remember, at some point he becomes like a recluse. In fact, in Girl Meets World, which is the sequel to that series, because now it's the daughter. When he's reintroduced, he's basically this politician, but he's also wacko. Like he's like wearing like these robes, and he has his long like beard, and something is clearly wrong with him, because before he was like he wasn't a smart guy, but he wasn't like insane or dumb either. You know what I mean?
So you're saying that Trump has a lot of head trauma?
Oh, dude, that guy has like head trauma, man. Or syphilis, dude. I mean, think of all the women he had to pay off.
That could be it.
Was he hanging out with R. Kelly?
I think he was.
Nasty.
Speaking of R. Kelly,
I'm going to poo on you.
I was watching Boondocks, episode 2, the one where in first season where they're defending R. Kelly.
Oh my god,
that aged so badly. Oh man,
they knew.
Free R. Kelly. All about like. Did you guys watch the Boondocks cartoon? Okay,
yeah.
Do you remember where they're on the stand? The girl that it happened to, she goes, if I was fine with it, it could happen. If it happened, if I didn't want to happen, I could just step out of the way.
I remember that.
Oh, plays with squirrels.
Yeah.
That's the name. So he becomes this psychotic like hermit, and he like comes back from like his sabbatical in the mountains, and he has this long like Moses beard, and he has this staff, and he walks in, and like his best friend at the time, which is Sean's older brother, is like this politician, and he's trying to like clean up his life and doesn't want to be a part of any more shenanigans, and then enters Plays with Squirrels.
Oh my god. I don't remember. Is Boondocks? Did Boondocks have an episode where it turns out Michael Jackson was an alien, or is that Black Dynamite?
I think that was.
I don't know.
Yeah, you got me. I can't remember which
You know
one.
what? You know what I'm talking about. It's one of those two, right?
I think it's Black Dynamite.
Is it Black Dynamite?
I'm gonna lose my black heart.
He was from the planet. What was it? Chichipaternum or something like that?
So, just to tell you a little bit about Girl Meets World, because I know Doyle, you never watched it, and Angel, you probably don't care too much
Black
about
Dynamite is a soft reboot.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually genuinely, I would call it a continuation.
Yeah, I'm with him.
So what
It's a
happens is
continuation.
now,
It's a sequel.
Topanga and Corey, who are the boy
They're
and
in
girl.
Black Dynamite.
Shut up. So they've gotten married, and they have a daughter, and so she now has a friend who's a lot like his friend, a girl who has a lot of. I forget what his best friend's name was. Ryder something.
Ryder.
Yeah, I don't remember what his name was. In Boy Meets World, he had a friend who lived in the trailer park, had a lot of trouble, and ultimately he got his act together. Well, in The Girl Meets World, she has a female friend who's very similar to that. So they kind of they're kind of repeating old threads. Even they even have a teacher. Well, it turns out that Corey now is a teacher. He's basically the Mr. Feeney of that, where he's recalling all the lessons that the Feeney taught him. And so there's a lot of, if you're a fan of Boy Meets World, there's a lot of callbacks to the series. But also, obviously, it's modern, it's on Disney, so it walks a fine line between some of the teen fluff that you would find on Disney. And then
there's a lot of Riz.
I felt embarrassed watching it just because, I don't think I was the intended audience.
No, you're obviously not the intended audience. Not for that one, not for Doyle. But I mean, at the same time, you kind of are the intended audience because you grew up on the original, so you're going to be interested in the next one. Let's be honest. It's the kind of show remake where they're like, oh, and he'll bring his kids and we'll have a new generation of audience, right?
So that's what I want to ask you, Doyle, because I know since you didn't watch Halo, you didn't watch this, but I mean, from a kind of this from a bird's eye view perspective, is that the approach when they do these things? Is because I feel like I am the intended audience, but also I don't feel like I am. So it's a very conflicting relationship I have with the show. And maybe that's why after a while I stopped watching it and only caught up on it in reruns. What is Hollywood thinking about this? I mean, are they really trying to do cash grab, or do they obviously think it's sustainable? I don't know.
I got a perspective. So Hollywood is thinking cash. They're just trying to figure out what has a built-in audience and what can we capitalize on. But I think the audience in anything that is done well is they pay homage to the audience while building a new audience. So perfect example of that is Cobra Kai. Cobra Kai does a fantastic job of building brand new characters while giving you enough backstory to explain the motivation of some characters who are throwbacks, the main character, Johnny, and then
Johnny Lawrence,
and then establishing new characters like Miguel, and building on that. So when you see other characters come back, you start to understand the motivation of this character who's my generation, and then you understand how that affects the new character. And because it's clever storytelling, you're not just catering to the old audience. The old audience doesn't have to be watching the show, but because that the name of the show is going to draw in the older audience. And I think the ultimate goal, if you have a show like this, is to have the parents watch for nostalgic reasons, but then draw in the kids with the parents. So it's a show that both can watch together.
That's what happened with me. I started watching it because I'm like, oh shit, Cobra Kai, hell yeah, I love the Karate Kid series. And then my son, my oldest, got into it, so now it's our thing. We watch it together. We did a crash course for the movies. He was like, oh my god, golf and stuff, I know that place, and stuff like that. So he was in Flynn, and he really enjoys it. We're waiting for the last season.
I was gonna ask, what's the current status of that? Are they doing one more season?
One more season, and that's it. And they're doing a movie, but the movie's not connected to Cobra Kai. It's weird because they're saying it's not connected, but at the same time they're saying it's connected.
Well, I get it, because they're
bringing in Jackie Chan, by the way.
That's
for
what
movie.
I heard. That's what I heard. Yeah,
for the movie. So they're bringing back Jackie Chan and Jaden Smith for it.
Ugh.
Well, that Will Smith is the executive producer of Cobra Kai.
Yes, I do.
He's on
I
it.
know that.
He bought the rights to Karate Kid, so they had to get his
Don't say that
approval.
publicly, because then it'll get out and people will be like, oh, no wonder Cobra smacked.
I see.
Keep my wife's name out your mouth.
I mentioned off the air that my wife said that I might be on the spectrum because of little things that she's noticed, and I think she's right, because right now when you mentioned Miguel, I did the whole it's a sucker thing in my head, because I'm like, oh yeah, he was Blue Beetle in the movie, and in the movie Blue Beetle they reused the gun that they use in Fifth Element as one of his arms.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, if you look up a picture of him, when the's a picture when he's first,
right.
They have an arm that's blue. That it's a big gun and all that, and it's the bullet pod, the pod bullet thing from Zerg Enterprises.
It's a circle.
It's a circle, and it's like, oh my god, I gotta stop. Seriously, focus. We're right here. What the fuck is wrong with me? And it's like Spectrum. Got it. Okay,
either
moving
Spectrum
on.
or ADHD. It's one or the other, bro.
Filmmaker.
I'm gonna go with A little bit of both.
You know what? We just need to get you a diagnosis, my guy.
yeah, I
That's
think
all. Let's get you in the doctor's office. Let's have him put on that glove. Let's have him stick that finger right up your candy ass. And
Hey, what kind of doctor do you go to? That was Enrique's dentist.
Oh, shit. No, really? Dang. Why do I still have a cavity?
You got too many O's.
But your butt is clean.
You got too many O's in your HMO, man.
Yeah, okay.
He said you're gonna feel a little prick, but both of his hands were on your shoulders.
It's like one time me and my brother were joking around. I was in an emergency. I was dying. No, I was in UCLA Harbor about 20 years ago or so with some weird ailment. They don't know what it was, and of course they thought I had appendicitis, so they had to check me that way, and then they had to put a catheter. So me and my brother were joking around that we said that any minute now the doctor was going to show up, like after I got the my appendicitis check, through my anal gland. Like he left, and then my brother goes, imagine the doctor comes in, he's like, okay, we have to check you, and you're like, wait, who was that guy? And then you see him in the hallway, he's like mopping. He's the janitor. I was like, it just makes me laugh every single time.
I would kill everybody in the hospital. I would have to destroy all evidence that this ever occurred, so everyone must go.
That's funny.
How many fingers am I holding?
Not enough.
Now, just
Fire.
just to bring the discussion back to Cobra Kai, what I really appreciate about it was the good faith that the people went into making that show. I like that they took a theory, right, like a fan theory, which was that the Karate Kid, the real Karate Kid, was Johnny Lawrence, not and basically for the first season they flipped the script. It was Johnny Lawrence who was kind of like the good guy, the misunderstood anti-hero, and what's his name?
Daniel.
Daniel was the bad guy. Now, obviously, that didn't last for too long, and then they really just built on it. But overall, I think it was done so well that you became interested in watching that journey.
I thought it was great. I really thought that it was a good a good segue into like the world of Cobra Kai and Reseda and all that, and bringing it from a different point of view. I thought it was genius.
Yeah.
And that's what hooked me, because Joey Lawrence, in his mind, he's right. His career, his life got ruined by this punk kid.
Yeah,
think about it that way.
That's true, and he reflects on that that fall through the first season.
Let's be honest, bullies don't see themselves as bullies.
What's really cool about that is, I mean, if you think about it, there's two sides to every story, and so what a person could be considered as like a bad guy actually has motive for what they do, and some of the best storytelling explains the motive of both sides.
Exactly.
And if you do it in a subtle way, it's like if you ever think of like an assassin, right? Well, the assassin has a motive for the reason why he's going to kill someone. And then you think about the person that he's going to kill. If the assassin's killing to save his daughter, you're kind of empathetic. But if the person who's getting killed is like a political figure and he's trying to make change, then you also be like, man, like, wow, that really matters.
It's like I was telling my son last night, history is made by the victors. So basically, what you read in the history books is not exactly the whole truth and nothing but the truth. It's from the point of view of whoever's left to tell the story. So everything changes. What if Lee Harvey Oswald was not killed?
Right.
What story will we have then?
There's a few assassinations that really like capture my attention,
like Enrique's career with his podcast.
This was our
just waiting for the inevitable call into the office.
Can we see you over here for a minute?
Yeah. Can we're gonna escort you to the meeting. The admin will escort you on Friday. And
no me toques. Get your hands off me, you slimy freak. As they drag you out.
Speaking of assassinations, I had this great idea about like talking about the He-Man series
and how everybody
wanted to assassinate Kevin Smith, but you know what? You nailed it.
He turned around. Yeah.
No, that series is great.
He turned it around for me.
Let me ask you about assassinations, though. I mean, because honestly, like I think we've already kind of like just. I think for now we've talked enough about the remakes and stuff. I just recommend people, just go on Netflix and watch some of this stuff. It's really great. But I wanted to ask you, currently right now in Russia, you had, I can't pronounce his name, Navalny. Is it Andrei Navalny, or am I mispronouncing that?
I
apologize. I should've looked it up, but-
I missed this headline. Like I saw that there was an assassination, but it was like, news headline nonsense. So it was kind of like, it was this thing where I looked at it and I was like, oh, another foreign assassination, no biggie, and I'm like, all right.
Yeah, so the name was Alexei Navalny.
Alexei, yeah.
And
Alexei.
what was up with him is that he was like the opposition to Putin, where he was trying to run for the power ship, and he had
Should have ran faster.
He should have ran faster. Well, of course, he got arrested.
Yeah, well, first he ran for mayor.
Okay.
He ran for mayor first, and he, it's corrupt as hell. Let's be honest. The voting in Russia is even more corrupt than here. But, he lost, but he actually got a very impressive 26%, which is kind of strange for something that's
For rigged elections.
For rigged elections, like wow, that's amazing. Then he went after Putin. Puto, whatever. He went after him, and he also did very well on the polls and in the election. So
he was a stripper?
Of course, that's
He did well on the polls.
He assassinates that ass. So of course Putin saw that this guy was trouble.
Yeah.
So he went after him as much as possible. He could have ran. He could have stayed away from Russia, but he was like, no, I have to go back. He got poisoned. He survived a poisoning
Yes,
attempt.
he did.
He knew he shouldn't have returned to Russia, but he did because he was like, I have to be with my people. I have to defend this. He knew this was going to happen. So he went back knowing that it was probably his death. And they did so much to try to make him go away, and it didn't work. So finally they just killed him out in the open, and they're not even releasing the body. They're telling anyone that goes mourns him. They've arrested over 300 people at this point who lay flowers in tribute for him, for Navalny. So it's pretty obvious. I'm not saying that every government is clean, because let's face it, the American government is as corrupt as fuck and possible.
I think there's some. I think it's two levels of degree. I think it's all about checks and balances.
Yeah,
like
but
we can't comparing America to Russia on that level. I don't think it's necessarily fair, because Putin is the figurehead. He is the power.
Yeah.
There is no checks and balances.
No, there isn't. There is
Same thing in China. So when we think of corruption, oftentimes you make it a moral equivalency between the two, and it's just not true. The corruption here in America is individualized because of money and but oftentimes you can find the truth when you follow the money, as they say, and so there is justice on some level.
I disagree on that.
No, there's enough. There's enough times where justice has happened. Are there people who getting away with shit? Of course there are. 100%. But it's not to the same degree in Russia, where somebody can be killed. Very, very, like, internationally, everybody know. Now, you guys can say it was, Epstein. Epstein is a good example of that here in America, but that's still an arguable case. Where Navalny, on the other hand, is very obvious. Like, Putin has a history of killing every person that's ever opposed him. I mean, even the guy, the military guy from his the one that was running his war for a while,
from the militia. Yeah.
I mean, that guy blew up in a plane, and everyone's like, okay, and everybody knew that it was Putin, and Putin was like, eh.
You had Russian billionaires that are dying because they opposed the war.
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's a different level of corruption.
No, I'm
in
not.
my opinion.
I'm not
But
saying
we
it's
have-
not. I'm not saying it's not. But what I'm see, you went to the defense of America. Fuck yeah! But it's not my point. My point being is, let's not paint a sunshine and flowers to the American corrupt government. I pointed that as just as I have no dog in the fight, is what I'm trying to say. I don't believe in any governments. They're all corrupt.
There definitely is something. There's definitely something similar to that, like in the 9/11 conspiracy. There were trillions of dollars that were being investigated here in America, and that 9/11 could have been a byproduct of the trillions of dollars.
I don't think some of the conspiracies out there for 9/11 are factual, but I do believe that the government knew something was coming, but they were like, let's hold on and let's see how it plays out to our advantage. I think that's what happened. I think it's a matter of, like, they basically knew something was going to happen around the time they had the information, but they were like, if we let this happen, XYZ can happen. So let's see if we can do this instead.
Well, part of what I'm saying is that there was an office, a naval office at the Pentagon this is conspiracy because I can't prove it. But there was a naval office at the Pentagon that was investigating this $1 trillion stock fund like movement, and this is where like they would have exposed so many billionaires at the time. But of course, 9/11.
What does that have to do with belly buttons?
Everything.
Oh, okay.
If it's an innie or an outie, you know what I'm saying?
I need a whole department for that.
But they basically were investigating this, and that, of course, of all places in the Pentagon is what got hit. And then, sure enough, underneath the
everything was collateral. Everything else was collateral damage?
Yeah. And then underneath the building, or underneath the floor that was hit, or right above it, I think, was the other naval office in the Twin Towers that was investigating. So between the two, they were communicating information. So basically, the plane crashes were destroying the evidence of these trillions of dollars that were being moved illegally.
It just seems messy to me to have to do all that just to destroy that when I could have just been like, "Oops, look, a fire! Ooh, looks."
But if you're a trillionaire and you want to get away with murder, you know, you're basically gonna hire these assassins, so to speak, and then you would make sure that there's no evidence and nothing points back to you, which this is. And this basically is like, you know, if I was a trillionaire, that's probably how I would do it. That's like going back to the OJ. If I had did it.
All right, I'm bored.
No, you know what's crazy? I often think about like why they killed Malcolm X.
Oh, jeez.
I know it's crazy, right? Gorsh. It's because like he was leaving the Nation of Islam, and his disconnect with the Nation of Islam. A lot of people believe that it was members, like it was the higher up members of the Nation of Islam that ordered his assassination, because he was coming too powerful politically, like where people were willing to follow him and not the nation.
Well, that's what they were trying to say about Malcolm X as well, isn't it? They were trying to say that it was some other clandestine Nation of Islam off branch that just didn't like his showboating.
Martin.
Malcolm X.
Oh yeah, no, because he left, and he was very brash. He started to speak against their leader, and basically it was almost cult like, where they were told you must, adhere to the nation. And so his mentor at the time, Malcolm, basically found a bunch of information, finding out that this guy, even though he was preaching all this morality, had like a bunch of extramarital relationships and had a bunch of kids out of wedlock. So he was like, I'm leaving the nation.
I don't believe that.
So just so that we have some context, here's what the official word is. Malcolm X was shot multiple times and killed. 3 members of the Nation of Islam, Muhammad, Abdul Aziz, Khalil Islam, and Thomas Hagen, were charged, tried, and convicted of the murder and given indeterminate life sentences. But in November of 2021, Aziz and Islam were exonerated. So there was an exoneration. I don't know the details of that. So obviously there's something to all of this. I don't know what that is. I haven't done any research in it.
Bunch of bull crap.
But the 60s were a crazy time. I mean, Martin Luther King assassinated, obviously, and John F. Kennedy. The motivation, obviously, always political, always ideological.
Marilyn Monroe's ass assassinated.
Marilyn, yeah.
People do say that she. I do.
Yeah,
I think so.
Okay. Let's be honest. She was a manic depressive. I know my own kind. Let's be honest. She had issues, but
she's a 30-year-old woman about to hit the wall. Of course, she was depressed.
I have.
Oh wow.
I know. I've worked with teenagers. So I've worked with teenagers that are that have different diagnoses: bipolar disorder, manic depression, and the signs like somebody like. Are you good there, Doyle? You all right? Okay, let's give him a moment.
That was so bad that I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
I don't apologize. I don't apologize for much, but I do have to apologize for that. Marilyn Monroe, you're a national treasure.
All the meanwhile, I'm looking up Marilyn Manson. Sorry. Oops.
I don't give a fuck, Keisha.
Both are pale.
Okay.
I do believe that she, even though, like you were saying.
Yes, so I was saying that I've worked with kids, females particularly, and they look and act a lot like the way Marilyn Monroe acted. in regards to like her interviews and stuff like that, sort of like skipping between personalities, that shifting of temperament and motivation. It's very, I'm not trying to just create like a visual diagnosis, but the feel is there, and I can see it. So like you said, your own kind, and I see that. And so do I think that Marilyn Monroe had a hand in her death? I mean, a big part of me says yes, but then I hear the conspiracy theories, and I know that time was a very, very crazy time, and the CIA and the FBI really had some untethered like checks and balances, or rather lack of checks and balances, that
they can get away with murder. Oh, thank you.
That's a potential thing.
Yeah. So I do believe it. I do believe that there was something that, I mean, did she have a pill problem? Probably she did. She probably did, but she was tied too closely to both Kennedy brothers. She had a lot of Kennedy in her. Oh, thank you.
Just like you have 2% black in you in the same way.
Damn.
Oh, wow.
Breaking news.
News flash.
Yeah. Angel has 2% black in him from Friday night.
And if
can I say it hard R now?
Yes.
No.
I say yes, you say no. So
no.
50-50.
Said the man that on a couple episodes ago said the eagerly.
Okay.
Don't be acting niggardly.
And it was all for definitional, educational purposes.
But you said it's
bad.
You said it to me off the air.
I swear to
Very angrily too.
God.
Said, Doyle, you acting niggardly right now. I said, what?
I resent the mischaracterization of my person.
The views of Enrique are not the views of the Ouchcast.
Dare you misalign my... You know what, Doyle? You suck.
It's because my pants were sagging, and he said, that's very niggardly of you. I said, excuse me?
Whatever, motherfucker!
I reject this version of history.
It's all a lie. It's all cap.
It's all cap.
No, okay, so I'm with you guys on the conspiracy that Marilyn Monroe was killed, because they said it's the official story that doesn't make sense. That makes me say that there's something else. They said she took a whole bottle of pills, and everyone who knew her said this woman couldn't take an aspirin without a glass of water. So for her to have a whole bottle of pills and no water near her bedside table didn't make sense. There were a lot of things that the evidence, the FBI, who were the ones who came in to see the cleanup of everything, they were the ones who gave the official narrative. They were the ones who told the story. They were the ones who found all of the evidence. And so that's where I think the biggest...
Wasn't there someone from the studio there before even the cops showed up, or even the authorities showed up?
That was
there?
Heath Ledger.
Huh?
Heath Ledger.
Was it Heath Ledger that happened?
Yeah, Heath Ledger. Same thing. They called Mary Kate.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. They
I'm
came
confused.
to the apartment.
Wait, what? Heath Ledger, like Marilyn Monroe? I'm confused.
Sorry, he jumped around because I said that comment. But no, it did happen to Marilyn Monroe too. It was a movie industry. The Heath Ledger incident, what it was is they were trying to cover up the illicit drug use. Okay.
So to Marilyn,
that's a different subject.
Marilyn Monroe, like there were, at the time in the 60s, there was direct ties between the Teamsters and the mob in helping John F. Kennedy win the election, right?
Yeah.
Because he's a Protestant.
Well, his dad was a bootlegger.
Right.
That's how he made his money.
But the thing is this. Okay, so John F. Kennedy was a Protestant and
Pimp.
And okay, so hold on. He was a Protestant.
Pimp.
Sorry, Enrique.
I hate you guys.
What do this and the other?
Chowder. All right, asshole, listen up, okay? The motherfucker was a Protestant, and the Teamsters would never vote in a Protestant. So they had to convince him. The mobsters came in and said, hey, you're going to vote Protestant, even though you guys normally vote Catholic in, like, New England. So come on. Point being, the mobsters probably were responsible for her death. Done.
You think the mobsters were responsible for that?
I mean, yeah, they had some connection. If you want to tie like a murderous intent behind it, yeah, I mean, it was either then by way of the FBI or vice versa, and there's some connections there, because the fact is that she was a bad look for John F. Kennedy.
So one of the most...
John F. Kennedy was a bad look for John F. Kennedy.
He was, but for the longest time, his character persevered. People believed in the myth of, what is it, Avalon on the hill, Camelot on the hill.
So
and, yeah.
one of the most interesting documentaries I've ever seen was like a 3-hour documentary on who killed John F. Kennedy. And they go into all his ties with the CIA, like the Bay of Pigs, the mafia.
Which, you know who was the author of the Bay of Pigs? George Bush.
Yes.
Isn't that trippy?
Yes. And
who was also kind of connected to the whole what was
Context. I don't know any of that.
Ted Kennedy's accident. Remember
Ted Cruz?
Ted Kennedy. Remember Teddy Kennedy when he flipped his car and he had that intern in there and she died and he got out? You know who introduced that intern to him and that whole thing?
Who?
Bill Clinton when he was an intern.
It all makes sense. So
it's a circle.
When we talk about the deep state, it's not a coincidence that a lot of these guys that like ended up becoming presidents. They have these like weird political connections, and they have like these weird like stories that connect them to some sort of controversy from the 60s. And so in that documentary, even though it was 3 hours and it's very good, but they go into detail and they say that it wasn't one group that tried to kill Kennedy. It was all the groups collectively that came together because they realized we got to kill the president and we can't miss. We get one shot at killing him. So
kick it, Eminem.
Every aspect of that assassination was like part of like
a bigger picture.
Yeah, but it's each individualized. So like the CIA had something to do with that Secret Service member who jumped off the car, and then you had multiple assassins. Yeah, then you had multiple assassins. So where people were like, "Oh, we saw a shooter from the grassy knolls." That's because there was a shooter in the grassy knolls, but there was also a shooter in the bell tower because there were witnesses that said they saw a shooter in the bell tower. But one of the most interesting aspects is that there was a shooter in the sewers, and when you see Kennedy
killed Splinter.
The turtles want revenge. Shredder. But there was the shooter in the sewers, and if you watch the Zapruder film, after Kennedy gets hit with that first bullet, he's bent over forward, kind of like leaning, like holding his chest or his throat because that's where he was hit. And then the second shot, his head flies upwards and backwards because the second shot, the one that they had to make sure he died because he was the president. You only get one shot, and they had to make sure they got him. So they were going to blow his brains out no matter what. And so that's the conspiracy 3-hour documentary that talked about it.
And he wrapped it up in 3 minutes.
They even said that there was a surgeon that they flew in to sew him up so that it like didn't show the evidence of how the bullet entered. And so they had like 72 hours to get this done. And they talk, there's the widow of the surgeon who gives her testimony about like her husband going on this covert mission. So all good
I'm
stuff.
uncomfortable. I'm uncomfortable talking about this right now. We're all gonna end up on the fucking list. Although the way that the House Republicans cannot fucking even come together to do one vote, I think we're safe right now.
I, for one, welcome George Bush as our new elected official. George
Trump.
Bush. Okay, who would win in a fight, George Bush Sr. or Trump?
George Bush Sr.
George Bush Sr. He was a military man.
Yeah.
He was trained.
I just want to say
He would take off his glasses a la Godfather 2 and just stab him in the neck with the glasses.
Dude,
you know?
he was nimble. Even remember like that one video. I guess he was sitting in his wheelchair and like he like grabbed the ass of like his helper.
Yeah, yeah.
He still
he was an assassin.
He was.
He was major assassin, dude. He was assassinating that ass.
he was
He was no saint though.
he was
assassinating that ass.
he was in Houston during the assassination.
He was
There's
there.
evidence.
I do
Even though
believe
he denies it to this day.
Get the fuck out of it. Well, he's dead, but anyway, he still denies it. Doyle, anything to say before we go?
Go to our Discord and let us know what your favorite assassination was. Franz Ferdinand.
Discord. The Discord is assassinating.
Franz Ferdinand started World War II because of that.
Yep.
Hey.
What about you, Enrique?
I hate you, Angel.
No, you don't.
With all the fibers in my being, I hate you.
You do not.
No, I don't.
Is there anything to say?
Love you, brother. No, it was good. I had a fun time talking. Let's keep it going.
All right. And just to bring the show to a close, remember, call us at area code 925-421-6824. Or that number is area code 925-421. Ouch, motherfucker. Anything else?
Squid Squad.
All right. I think that's it for this one. Good show. A little over the place. Buffy and assassinations. And remember, never make eye contact while eating a banana. Good night, motherfuckers.